So we're talking spring bulbs today. We need to start planting them in the fall. And what time of year do you actually, what is fall? It ranges for 12, 13 weeks. So we need to know exactly when we need to plant. Around September, I'm getting real anxious. I want to get those in the ground, but it's not quite time. But you can be starting to look in your catalogs and selecting the bulbs that you would like to come up in the spring and which you would like to plant a little bit later in the fall, which is usually mid-November to mid-December, unless you're going with those daffodils, and you can start them a little bit earlier in October. So here we are. We're just going to go through kind of what it takes to plant some spring bulbs. We have gotten the area ready, and this needs to start. This can also start right now in September as well, starting with a soil test. You need to know the pH and what nutrients are available to the plants that are already in the soil, because if you need to amend it, now's the time to do that, not when you have bulbs that are planted already. So we have taken and loosened up the soil quite a bit. We've got it down to about 8 inches or so, because what we have selected is tulips. And when we plant, we're going to do a mass planting of tulips. And if you do those, if you have one color, that's going to give you the wow effect. So some of you may want to do that, and some may just want to scatter it in with your perennials or maybe some of your deciduous shrubs to give it that extra look when it comes early spring. And we're always just dying to catch that hint of color in the spring. Just go to any kind of garden center or your catalogs and select what you want. And on the back, the information right there is all you need to know, or basically all you need to know for planting. You want to make sure that it's in full sun to partial shade, and we have a great area here. We're going to also look at the bloom time. So we want to make sure we know when these are going to start popping their little heads up and looking forward to it. It also helps when we know how deep to plant as well. So with these tulips that we have here, the flower bulbs, it has bloom time is mid-spring. So these are medium flowering. There's also late and there's also early. So depending on how and when and how much bloom, you can actually select if you want all year or all springtime blooms, or you just want a particular time. These will get 18 to 20 inches, and the hardiness zone, make sure you check that out, because we're kind of right in the border of 7A, 7B, but that's what we're looking for. And fortunately, this one has hardiness zone of 2 to 8, so we're right on with this. So we're going to put that to the side, and we're going to take our bulbs. And before we start planting, actually, I get so excited, but we probably need to put some fertilizer down. And fertilizer, there's a lot out there on the market, and how do you decide? Well, think about this. Where are you planting? Do you have a lot of rodents? Is it a place that's beautiful like this, but there's a lot of squirrels? A lot of other things that come in and that will take away these bulbs because they see them as nice treats for them and their families. So they're going to dig those up. So once we put them in the ground, you may want to put some kind of wiring over the top of them, so it makes it a little more difficult. And if they're really wanting these bulbs, they're going to have to try really hard to get them. You also can change your fertilizer. A lot of people want to put bone meal, but think about this: when you're planting bone meal, it attracts rodents, so we're trying to deter them, so that may not be the best selection. It also has it's a slow release type fertilizer. Any of the organics are slow release, so it's going to take a little bit longer for your actual plant to get that those nutrients that it needs: the nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. And with bone meal, the phosphorus is readily available. However, it's just not enough nitrogen and potassium. So you may want to try something else. Dry seaweed would be a good alternative to that. That's a natural fertilizer, and it doesn't attract rodents. But there again, it is slow release. It's going to be a little bit slower for that plant to take up the nutrients, so keep that in mind. You can have Osmocote, any of the slow release out there. You can also just put a synthetic fertilizer if you have 10-10-10. A lot of people have that laying around their house. You can put that down. So we want to go ahead after we have prepared and loosened our soil and amended it like our soil test had said, and our soil test come back good. We did not need any kind of lime to adjust the fertilizer or sulfur or to adjust the pH. So we're good on that. We want to go ahead and put our fertilizer in. And we're going to do that by just sprinkling it over, just broadcasting. It kind of gets it ready. So we're putting it in the fall, and when we see just a little bit of those green sprouts sticking up, that's when we're going to add a little bit more of our fertilizer as well. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now we'll go ahead and get our bulbs. And we're going to plant them with the root side down. So the root side is more the flat side. They're usually like a little teardrop shape, I guess. And so that point is going to be at the top. How deep we plant it, we are going to plant it. We're just going to lay it here, but we're going to put a layer on top of it at 8 inches. So it's going to be 5 to 8 inches deep. If you look at the directions, it also tells you, and it will say 5 inches deep. A good rule of thumb, you're going to plant it 2 to 3 times the diameter of this bulb. So that's a good way to, because some of them are a little bit smaller than this one. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put these, and you will probably need to put these around 4 inches apart. Okay. And take our soil and add to this. Let's see. Just go ahead. So we're going to add enough that it's about 8 inches on top of these. Now it may be, the soil that we use is probably not going to be from a garden site. It could be maybe some topsoil or some potting soil that we have purchased, or it could be some compost that we have prepared. Okay. When you're selecting your bulbs, it's also good to think about the area that you're going to put it in. If there are a lot of deer, there are some deer resistant bulbs that are out there. Some of your daffodils, a summer snowflake is also deer resistant, so there's several out there. So we're going to go ahead. All right, so once we get our layer on there, we're going to add some mulch, 2 to 3 inches of mulch. That helps have an even moisture level that is kept in our bed. It also helps when it's raining, all that dirt nastiness doesn't get on our lovely tulips. So there's lots of reasons to add mulch to that as well. So we're going to wait patiently, and hopefully these will come up and be beautiful for all of us to enjoy.